Yes, politics of the issues and the timing was critical to us, and we had a lot of people who have been around for a long time. Some of them in our caucus that would never vote for significant tax increases, et cetera, that we knew we were going to have difficulty dealing with. So the timing was going to be very important, and we ran into a problem early on because it was clear that the administration wanted to solve their so-called budget shortfall with the sales tax increase, and that they were going to do to fund the what was coming down the road from the Supreme Court. Everyone knew what was going to happen. It was just a question of to what degree. They wanted to accentuate the income tax. And the Senate, almost to a person, wanted to take care of the budget, do the sales tax, do whatever cuts were necessary, do the auto insurance, which was long overdue with what was happening in the residual market, and then wait for the Supreme Court decision and go kicking and screaming to fund it, and as opposed to doing this in a heartbeat, and almost reacting, waiting for the Supreme Court decision and moving very quickly and talking about it in terms of quality education, et cetera. The problem was, and there may be some disagreement with this, but to a person in our caucus, to those that are living would say this is what happened. The Assembly leadership, and a lot of their caucus, they had just taken control. We had been in majority for quite a while. They believed that the Senate would never pass the income tax, and that they wanted to do everything first. Of course, the Assembly has to initiate.
Technically.
Technically. I mean, the Constitution calls for it.
Right.
So it does technically initiate there. But the fact is, they wanted to be able to control it, so we had to pass the income tax before they were cast adrift. And that became a point of real concern because our people felt, and so did I, that you needed political timing here. You needed to choreograph this in a way that made sense to the public. You needed to get the public involved in why this was all necessary, and in fact that you would have some real semblance of property tax relief, because if you're from New Jersey, you know that property taxes is always high on the agenda, primarily because of our redundancy in government at the schools and municipalities. So we had that ongoing battle, and we of course lost.
Now, getting back to on the tax issue, why was the Assembly so interested in pushing this first before the Senate? What were the political dynamics there?
I like Joe Dory. I like Joe a lot. And
Joe was the Speaker of the Assembly at the time.
He was the new Speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had been in the minority for a while, and it stunted their vision of the political side of this. And they just didn't believe that we would pass the income tax, and that they would be left holding the bag. They wanted the school dollars, they wanted school reformation, they wanted the income tax passed. They said, and correctly so, that the sales tax is regressive and so forth, but they were willing to pass it. But the question was, okay, if you're willing to pass it as part of the budget fix, a la what happened with Tom Kean in 1982, if you're willing to pass it, then we have to do it in a way that is saleable, that we can let the public understand why we're doing all this. And we needed that Supreme Court decision to sink in and fester in order to react to it. Now because let's face it, legislatures universally are reactive.
Right. That would be the argument for not pushing ahead quickly on the tax part of it, but waiting for the Supreme Court decision.
You could do the sales tax and do the budget. Mm-hmm. We weren't looking at doing the Supreme Court decision in June. We were looking at subsequently, where you didn't have to go through what happened in decades before with sort of a shutdown in the legislature, but make it clear that people don't want to vote for tax increases, but at the same time sell that what you're working on is how they're going to get relief on the other side of the ledger. And as you know, New Jersey has the worst in the land. I mean, I saw the stats last year. There's the top 25 counties in the country. There's 18 from New Jersey in terms of property taxes, highest property taxes.
So the judgment then would have been, you can sell doing a short-term budget fix by raising the sales tax and doing a few other things to cut that deficit.
Right.
But then the whole issue of completely revamping the tax structure in order to deal with the Supreme Court decision about funding the schools ought to be treated separately, because that needs a completely different
It's a
role.
whole different animal.
I see. And you think that by
and don't tax toilet paper.
and you think that